Now, as often as we can, we try and make time in the show to hear about people who give of their time and strength to make the world a better place. This week is no different and concerns efforts made by a family to do some good in their saddest time of all. Liberty Schurer was 14 when she died of Ewing Sarcoma, a rare and aggressive form of bone cancer which predominantly affects children and young adults, especially teenagers. All the while she did her best to fight her own illness, she was an inspiration to those around her. It was her wish that her family should work to raise funds in her name, carrying on the fight against her disease, so that other children might not suffer as she had. The result was a special fund called Liberty's Legacy. And here to tell me more about the effort is Liberty's sister, Olivia. Hello, Olivia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for giving of your time. Of course, I need to ask, tell me about your sister. Tell me about Liberty.
She was honestly one of a kind. She was such an inspiration to so many people. We called her our social butterfly. There was no person that she didn't get on with. She had the best sense of humour, even throughout the absolute most awful of times. She always kept her energy up and she was so positive. She was just truly amazing.
How close in age are you and Liberty?
So we were 3 years apart. We were very, very close, yeah.
Right. What age was Liberty then when her diagnosis was made with Ewing sarcoma?
So she was actually diagnosed on her 13th birthday, which was obviously not the best entrance to teenagehood at all, but still she remained so positive. She had a party and unfortunately she passed away 2 weeks after her 14th birthday.
Now, obviously, we're looking at pictures of you and of Liberty.
Yeah.
Just being a teenage girl.
She was a character.
Yes.
Yeah, she was a
Of
character.
course. I think I'm right in saying, Olivia, that the correct diagnosis for Liberty was a bit of a long time in coming. That she was reporting one thing and being told it was another. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. She was actually misdiagnosed for about 16 months. And that's one of the major issues we have, as in awareness is obviously a major issue amongst the public, but also within the medical profession, because it's not something, bone cancer isn't something that's compulsory and taught to GPs. So themselves, they're not completely aware of the signs and symptoms to look out for. And obviously that can have a major impact. Early on diagnosis can make a massive difference to the outcome for these children and teenagers.
What was, when you say that things that people could be looking out for, what was Liberty experiencing and going and seeking medical help about? What I'm saying is, I know part of your objective is to raise awareness of the sarcoma. So what things should people be more aware of?
Of course. So I think one of the things which is often misreported is they say to look out for intermittent bone pain. But with Liberty, she could go several weeks and not have any pain at all. I mean, hers was located primarily in her left shin and tibia. But she could go weeks and not have the pain. So one of the key things to look out for is it doesn't have to be intermittent. It can come and go. It can be constant. She found primarily that the pain was worse at night time. So, yeah, it's just really educating GPs on the different signs and symptoms to look out for. But alongside the Bone Cancer Research Trust, a optional module has now been created that GPs can take to educate themselves.
How many people, Olivia, are affected by Ewing sarcoma? Around Britain today, for example, would you be able to estimate how many people would?
Yeah, so for bone cancer in general, which Ewing sarcoma is a type of primary bone cancer, the incident rate is roughly 2 people per day. But obviously as well, we're very focused on childhood cancers, which 1 in 285 people by their 90th birthday will have a childhood cancer diagnosis.
And of course, I need you to tell me about Liberty's legacy and the work of the charity. What have you been doing? How much money have you been able to raise?
Yeah, so it was actually Liberty's 18th birthday the week that's just passed, and our main aim was to hit 500,000 by her 18th birthday. And obviously, with the situation surrounding the pandemic, fundraising has been at an all-time low, and it was been really hard for us. But thankfully, we did hit that 500,000 mark this week through doing events from fashion shows, skydives, cinema screenings, anything you can think of, name it, we do it. We love to get the community involved. We're really focused on the community and doing events that make people feel good, push them out their comfort zone, do things in the name of liberty, so that she's not going to be forgotten, because that was one of her biggest fears, that she would be forgotten, and she didn't want other families to have to suffer in the way that we did and she did.
It's just so affecting, to hear you talk about your sister in that way. And I just have to say, for what it's worth, I think what you've done as her sister and what you're doing as a family to inform people and to do something positive, and to raise that kind of sum of money is so meaningful. And then when you talk there so movingly about Liberty's concern about not being remembered, I feel sure that because of your efforts, she will indeed be remembered. And for all of the right reasons. The pictures that we had over there,
Yeah.
She was just such a typical, lovely teenage girl. And it's so right that your efforts will see to it that she be remembered in a positive light. So, Olivia,
Yeah.
she is emblematic of everything that it means to be a Great Britain. So I wish you all the very best with, continuing to make sure that Liberty is properly and usefully remembered. And thank you for being with us tonight.